Right, so we're slightly late in this review of day one's play in the first test between India and Australia, and it's safe to say that the hosts have their, well, noses slightly ahead. Not just noses, they have pretty much their toes, their hands, and their arms as well. And you're watching this day one review on cricket.com with me, Abdi Shagdane. It's one of the most convincing days plays that I've seen in a while. And Australia, they had everything going for them apart from a few things. They had the toss going for them, but unfortunately, they couldn't do anything else apart from that. They, in fact, got 177 batting first, and it was just Steve Smith and Labuschagne in particular who kind of did some sort of troubling of the scorers and, of course, India. But look, at the end of the day, India, like I said, firmly ahead, and they are in the driver's seat to, of course, say the least. We have plenty of comments as well, which we'll take. And apologies to Chant and the rest of all you guys because we are just facing a couple of technical issues. But don't worry, we're here and we will take all your questions as well. So India 100 runs behind on day one at stumps, and there's going to be so much to talk about with you guys and of course the panel as well. So let's of course give you guys a little warm welcome, of course, to and say hello to Crick Crazy Nicks and of course Gurkirat right now with us. And these guys definitely must have enjoyed what they saw out there in Nagpur. I'll come to Nicks first and then we'll get Gurkirat's thoughts. How convincing were India on day one, Nikhil? Because they, I mean, not just Jadeja and Rohit, of course, but everyone kind of looked eager, hungry, and I mean, it was just a terrific day for an Indian fan.
Yeah, almost the perfect start, if you want to call it that. Uh, Plenty of talks, more talks about the pitch than the runs scored by Australia, which is just surprising. We've been saying for a while now that Rohit Sharma said the perfect thing, and I think it's best that you just quote Rohit Sharma. He said, "Don't look at the pitch too much, just play cricket." And I think that's what Australia forgot to do, both with the bat and with the ball. I think Manas and Smith really gave a proper way that this is how you have to play. They were beaten, but they were not too perturbed by it. But I think once they got out, you always knew that it was going to be these two, and the rest was always going to be like they'll fall away. And very glad that Jadeja did that. So I think near perfect day as good. Just the toss did not go India's way. The rest everything did.
Okay. Gugia, talk to me about the changes as well because there was a headless one from Australia, at least they're saying that in office right now. And India, of course, are playing Gill, but they had two debutants, one in Surya Kumar and one in KS Bharat. Were you happy from the offset that India chose well, at least better than Australia in this case?
I would have personally liked Gil to be there, but I can understand why they would have gone with someone like Sky because probably they were also expecting a raging Turner. Before I go into the details of the day, I just want to say that this was nowhere near close to being the toughest pitch to bat on. Mine goes back to 2021 when India were playing England at home in Chennai, the second test. The ball on day one turned more, it had more bounce and it had more pace than what this pitch had. And on that kind of a pitch, Rohit Sharma had scored 160 odd. Rahane had scored a 665, if I'm not wrong. And, that was a much more difficult pitch to bat on than this one. There was only little bit worry about the ball staying low, but the pitch really didn't have enough pace. So you could even if you were not playing spin from the hand, you could have gone back into the crease and then played. And the first evidence of this pitch being slow was when Jadeja came on to bowl, and he was straight away bowling in the 90s. He was not even bowling in the late 80s. He was bowling 91, 92, 93, and you could see that you had to bowl quicker on this surface to get a little bit of purchase, because if you were going to bowl, if Jadeja was going to bowl in the 83, 84 to 87, 88 kind of a range, it would have been a lot easier for batters to play him. So this was nowhere a difficult pitch to bat on. I think even in the worst case scenario, India should be posting a score of around 270 to 300, despite Pant and Iyer not being there. If they don't do that, I'd have to say that they haven't really batted well, because once the ball goes soft, and as Marnus and Smith were starting to show, it was not a minefield. It was even Carey was playing his shots, and at one point of time it looked like that maybe he could play a Pant kind of a counter attacking innings, but one shot or too many It was a case of one shot too many for them. And then I think once Smith was dismissed, or once Marnus and Renshaw were dismissed in a couple of deliveries, even Smith understood that maybe the Australian batting lineup doesn't have the enough defensive game to last long, and he also became slightly more aggressive and started to take the attack to the Indian bowlers, where he smashed Akshar for three fours. But once Smith was dismissed, it was pretty much a matter of time, because you didn't feel as if Australia were going to back their defensive techniques enough.
Okay. I just want to ask Nix about that particular start that India enjoyed, because not just Siraj but Mohammad Shami probably making the stump, making go for a walk of sorts. How are you kind of understanding all of that in the morning, or trying to make sense of it at least? Because India was spot on, and do you think they kind of did what they, I mean, kind of got what they deserved in the sense Australia 177, or do you think India deserved that?
No, I think India set the tone very well with the ball. I felt right from the start, and it is something that just hallmarks the success that India have had at home. That their pacers have taken a lot of wickets. It's not a one-off thing. They've consistently bowled well. Siraj was getting the ball to do enough. Shami did the same. I did feel they were a bit more. Once they got the early wickets, they were a bit more full, maybe, but that was just me. Because then once spin came on, I knew they were not going to go back to pace very soon. So I think India started in the right manner. Especially, I think a lot of the mind of Australia was on the pitch, how it would be. How I mean, when David Warner got out, he was looking down at the wicket. But now, to me, I didn't see that ball do anything else apart from just to beat him. He was beaten for pace, and that's all it was. It did not keep low, or it did not ride up on him. It was a normal dismissal that you will see at the start of the test. So I think
And
maybe
he's
the
been
mind was too, yeah,
and he's been getting beaten for pace for around two
yeah,
three years now. His struggles against
yeah,
pace have been evident since the 2019 Ashes. So it's
yeah,
not the first time that Warner's been beaten for pace, or it was not as if the ball stayed low. He was in fact completely beaten for pace, and the ball didn't move enough either. It just came on with the angle. And as a left-handed batter, because it's something what both Smith and Marnus were doing. Both of them were, when they were playing the Pacers, they realized that the ball could stay a little low, and their entire headspace and determination was to make sure that the ball doesn't hit their pads, and they were playing so close to the body whenever they felt that the ball could hit the stumps. So he was just completely beaten for pace. He was in no, you could say that he was nowhere. He was neither going backwards nor coming forwards. It had nothing to do with the pitch.
yeah. And I think once both of them batted through, you kind of saw that what the rest of the Australians had to do. And I think in that sense, I was very happy to see the way Alex Carey played, because you have to play what you do best. You can't be somebody that you're not and end up getting out for a 60 ball 10. Something that I think we'll discuss about an Indian opener in the coming time. So I'll leave it for that. You can see the smile coming already.
I'm already under attack because of because of that dismissal. I can see some comments coming.
No,
Subodh is
that
laughing over
there's going
there
to be
on me.
plenty of people heckling us, in particular you, Gurkiat, because of course we spoke about lots of things even in the preview before this first test, and it's always good to get the fans on board. Sometimes not in this case. Before we kind of talk about India and KL Rahul and all those other elephants in the room, just want to ask you boys about Ravindra Jadeja, because he's coming back into the scheme of things after an injury. We saw that 7 for that he got against Tamil Nadu. And today as well, I mean, doing what he does best, Gurkirat. What impressed you the most about Jadeja? Because it was one of those wickets that he would thrive on, yes, but he still had to do the work, and he did.
Uh, I would differ slightly. I don't really think that it was one of those wickets where he would thrive on, because sometimes sometimes when the pitch has a little more pace, it becomes easier for him to bowl in that speed which he's more comfortable with. So this was not ideally a pitch where you could say that it was easy for him. So he was bowling a little quicker, and then once he figured that, okay, while he's trying to bowl quicker, he's maybe erring slightly on the fuller side. The way he got Marnus out with just that hint of spin, bowling fuller, getting that little bit of dip, he then started to mix up his deliveries a lot more, which is what kept the batters guessing. If will this come a little slower, or will this come a little faster? And from that same length, when he managed to beat the bat of Marnus, I think that opened the floodgates. When it came to Renshaw, I think that was more down to a poor shot, and then Smith won as well. That one dismissal really opened up the day for India. Post that, it was just more of a cakewalk for Ashwin and Jadeja both to take those last wickets, because most days both of them will not feel challenged whenever they are bowling against this kind of a lineup in these conditions. They're never going to get challenged. So I thought the one thing that Jadeja did really well, especially in the morning session, because India might not have gotten a lot of wickets after the early burst, but what both Akshar and Jadeja were doing was they were keeping the runs tight, because at one point of time Australia were 26 for 2, and then around the 17th 18th over they had only reached some 35 or 34. So to keep it tight in the morning session and to make sure that the runs don't come easy is also something that bowlers need to do sometimes, else shoulders can start to drop, batters can just go into that kind of a phase where they start hitting everything and your own lines get disturbed. So I thought
Hmm.
from that point of view, Jadeja, got his lengths and speed very important, speed right very well, because this is something which even Ashwin struggled with. Ashwin, for the first 8 9 overs, especially bowling against the right handers, I felt that sometimes he was all over the place. He was bowling outside the off stump, on the stumps, sometimes outside leg stump, even to the right hand. He was not really sure, not sticking to one thing, which I thought Jadeja did quite well. Even Akshar early on during the day.
Hmm. I mean, it's going to be interesting for the rest of the series how Jadeja, especially even Ashwin, bowled, because today, what, 8 for about 80 between the two of them. And Akshar Patel, who many were reckoning that he would be the key, didn't get a single wicket. And that's how sometimes finally Test cricket happens. All you guys watching this, really appreciate all you guys right now on this Thursday evening to make your presence felt. So give us a subscribe if you're new, and of course check out the cricket.com app, because we have some brand new features, including Play the Odds, which is an absolute brilliant win if you guys are a cricket fan. Now I want to ask you guys about the Indian batting then, because clearly people are losing their shit in the comments below, guys. Sorry, but I had to say it that way. Look at all the comments. They're attacking Gurkirat. They're not attacking Gurkirat. They're, of course, agreeing with them. Talk to me about KL Rahul first and foremost, because we can always appreciate Rohit Sharma's 56 not out that he's on right now. But KL Rahul, sedate 20. Nikhil, I mean, do you agree with the large part of the audience in the comments, or do you see it differently with KL?
I think the start that Rohit got probably allowed KL to just bat at the rate he wanted. I think he was going fine. I don't think there was any hurry. But the only thing that times the problem with players like him is when you know the upside, anything that happens elsewhere makes you feel that why is that not being tried? Or why is
Yeah.
the person going too much into a shell that he doesn't need to when he has the game to do that? And I think that it is also where it is something that the team management and Kale himself has to sit down and think that how does he want to go about his cricket and what is the kind of game that he wants to play. I mean, if you look at Rohit, the kind of start Rohit got today, it was phenomenal. I mean, you don't see Pat Cummins and Nathan Lyon or so much, but because Rohit, and it wasn't that Rohit was taking a lot of risk. So there was literally no pressure for KL to take so much into him. And I think the one point that Gurkira rightly mentioned about Ashwin trying things and Jadeja keeping tight, it was the strike rotation. Australia never rotated strike enough against Jadeja. I think there were more than 85% dot balls of Jadeja, which is it is a very big number for a test match and the kind of two batters that they were. That is also a cue for somebody like a KL Rahul that you don't always have to hit your fours and sixes. Take a step, get to the other end, let just enjoy watching Rohit Sharma bat freely. So I think it is just everything in the mind. I feel I don't know what will clear that, but hopefully something does because he's too good to bat the way he does.
Yeah, he's too good. I mean, Gurkirat, some of the guys in the comments saying KL Rahul is a liability. They're writing him off already. What's your take on this? Because you need to, of course, clear a few airs, given the fact that you're being targeted, man.
See, disappointing dismissal without any doubt, because when you've played 70 odd balls, you've done the hard work, you've measured the pace of the pitch. And I don't know, maybe I felt that, maybe pitch also got slightly easier to bat, not sure, or maybe sometimes good batting can make it look like that, because it could sometimes be a very placebo kind of an effect, because it might look like that way. But once you've played 70 odd balls, you'd want to carry on. And I think in the last 5 innings that KL has batted, probably 4 times he's sort of thrown his wicket away, or has
Yeah.
had a soft dismissal. uh One thing I feel is pretty clear, that if India, like, whenever India lose a test match in this series, or if India go behind in the test series, or if India lose this test series, and if he doesn't have a good series, he could really end up getting dropped, because his vice captaincy has gone in ODIs now. And you'd hope that he does well, but if he doesn't, then obviously there's Gill in the waiting. And with the kind of runs that he's been scoring, and the kind of form he's been, it's going to be very difficult to leave him out. If Surya Kumar Yadav scores runs in this test match, and KL doesn't, and if he has another failure, we probably he might get another test match. But if he doesn't click for the first two test matches, then he could really lose his spot, because it's going to be very hard to keep Gill out, given the kind of run of form he's been. Also, uh, sometimes you can empathize with the batter, that they are getting very good balls and getting out. Somewhat what was happening with Murli Vijay when he was uh, playing in 2018. He was just getting peaches, and you couldn't have done. You could have said no batter is going to do much about it. But today's dismissal is is hard to explain. It's hard to justify. I mean, out of nowhere that dismissal happened. There was no, after batting 70. If you are new on the crease, yes, you could get deceived in the air. But playing 70 odd balls, nothing happening off the pitch, and it just gave Australia a slimmer of hope going into day two. Let's just put it that way. And there was no need to offer that slimmer of hope, and he has no one but himself to blame. And if these dismissals get repeated, then yes, he will get dropped.
Yeah,
Hmm.
just to add to that point, I just read a stat somewhere that since 2020, in the first 30 balls that KL Rahul faces, he's averaging over 30. So that's a good start. He's getting decent starts. But in the next 60 balls, he's averaging 16. That is, it just tells you
It's a
that he's
failure to
getting in,
convert
and
starts.
yeah,
It's a
so he's
failure to
getting
convert
in,
starts.
which is even more surprising that if you're doing the hard work of getting into on a deck, and then you're not making the most of it, then it is definitely going to cost you. And maybe to think it that way, I think it might just be a blessing in disguise if he spends enough time maybe out of the system for a while. And I mean, he's got breaks, but that breaks has always had the surety of him having a place in the side. Now with
Yeah.
Gill scoring, if this is the time that Kale gets a time off and he is able to just think everything very through, that okay, this is how my game is going. It's looking same in all formats. It's not how I want it to be. Currently, he's batting the best in ODI format. So maybe
Hmm.
there
Just
is enough hint for him to take a cue from there and just figure out this is the game I will play no matter what happens.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Good.
just on that front, I think there's this thing that both KL Rahul and Mayank Agarwal together can't score runs. If KL Rahul is going to score runs, Mayank Agarwal will not. If Mayank Agarwal is scoring runs, KL Rahul will not, because Mayank Agarwal is coming off a brilliant 249 today. Or not many would have followed it, but Karnataka scored 407 in the semi-final of the Ranji Trophy, and Mayank Agarwal came out to open, and he was the last man dismissed. That too a run out for 249 in a score of 407. That tells you a thing about two of how well he would have batted. I think he scored some 28 boundaries, five sixes. So I just think there's something that keeps going on between the two. One If one of them is scoring runs, the other doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how they've also kind of had an effect on each other's careers. And I remember Mayank got injured, which made KL open in England, I think it was, all those years ago. But look, KL Rahul, make whatever you have to make of him, but keep your comments coming through. It's always good to hear from you guys. And it's that community which always wants your fans to have their say. So get cracking with us in terms of all our videos and comments as well. And look, KL Rahul had a good 2017, if you guys remember, but only time will tell if he can replicate that and go on, because he's a fantastic player, like Nikhil and Gurkirat mentioned, but only time will tell if he comes to the fore. Now, it just gave me an impression watching Nick's and Gurkirat today, not y'all, but the Australian team, that they probably lacked the fifth bowling option. I know Travis Head was definitely missed with the bat, and they played Ranshaw and Hanscom, maybe because of the 2017 evidence. But with the ball in hand, Lyon, the debutant Todd Murphy, Cummins, and Boland, they're not really threatened. Who are they looking to, of course, reap the rewards come day two? Is it still going to be Nathan Lyon who's definitely going to be key for them, or do they expect a little bit more from Captain Cummins, Gurkirat?
I think it would be quite naive of Australian team management or the setup to think that only spinners are going to get them the breakthrough here, because
Right.
both Boland and Cummings are with the kind of height that they have on slow and low pitches, tall bowlers can sometimes get invariable bounce. We have seen that enough with Ishant Sharma in India, and both these bowlers are capable of doing that. So if they can continue to bowl stump to stump and maybe get the odd ball to misbehave and then mix it up with the bouncer, who knows that they could be effective, because Shami tried that with Smith today. It's another thing that Smith was batting in such a zone that the first short ball he saw, he pulled it for a boundary, but Shami was continuously and consistently at the pads and stumps whenever he was bowling at Marnus or Smith. So they should look at that possibility as well, that the paces can get the breakthrough. But yes, see, uh, these days with the kind of few day with the kind of very less days very few days between test matches, you do need the fifth bowler, not only to make sure that your bowlers stay fresh in between that test match, but they also have some fuel left in the tank going into the next test match. And I remember very clearly before the series started, I said that this is going to be Cummings' greatest challenge. That how does he make sure that his bowlers stay fresh? Because last time when Australia were here, there was this test match in Ranchi where Steve O'Keefe by himself had bowled 80 odd overs, and he had nothing left in the tank when Australia played the fourth test match in Dharamshala, because Steve Smith didn't really want to bowl his pacers, and he kept bowling Steve O'Keefe. 80 overs in one innings is a lot. So
Yeah.
Cummings will have to make sure that from somewhere he gets another fifth bowling option, or maybe Marnus bowls, maybe Smith bowls, we don't know, but that fifth bowling option is going to be key, especially if India bat long.
Hmm. Next, before I get your thoughts on day two and all of that, let's just, of course, tell the viewers once again about the brand new feature on the cricket.com app, and it is, of course, Play the Odds. Here's what we mean. Check out cricket.com's brand new feature on our app called Play the Odds. Test your cricket knowledge by making predictions on match events. Not just that, come back to check the results and see your earnings. Maintain your streak by playing on consecutive featured match days. If you think you can, of course, beat this, check out the rulebook to be assured by the formalities of this game. Anyway, check out this feature and we'll be back to the show right now. Right, so it's an absolutely fascinating tool there. It's almost like playing against the machine and winning. That's something that Nick knows one thing or two about, because he, of course, is the fantasy guru. Just about that as well, we'll get your thoughts about it. But how do you envisage day two, Nikhil? I mean, is India now really kind of going to put the foot on the throat and take this game away with the bat? They trail by 100. Are you suspecting a 150 lead, or is that wishful thinking, Nikhil?
I think that would be ideal to get anything above 100 on this deck. That is only going to get difficult to bat.
Right.
I think that will possibly be the aim. Very surprising again, as Gurkir said, very surprised with the selections that Australia had, which is kind of confusing between do we don't want too many left-handed batters, or do we don't want the options that we want, or are they thinking too ahead that okay, we may need Ashton Agar ahead in the series, which I think is probably thinking too far. So the pressure will be on Nathan again. The way he started today did not look promising, but I think Todd Murphy was very good in whatever he bowled. He was disciplined, did not leave his line, which is again surprising to see how many bad balls. I can't recollect Lyon and Cummins earning so much. We don't see these many freebies coming from them. So I'm sure that will be corrected tomorrow. And Rohit and everybody that follows. I mean, Ashwin is coming at 3. So he's not going to just hang around for fun. He's somebody who will play his shots whenever given the opportunity. So I think I'm looking at India batting the way that they did today, which means the game will continue to go ahead. And even if you have Pujara and everybody coming in, I'm hoping they are going to look to be positive. And by positive, I'm not saying you have to hit fours every over, but just rotate strike. Do not let the bowler settle at any point of time, because on this kind of surface, you've lost the toss, but you've got the best conditions to bat. Day two should ideally be the best time to bat. Bat the entire day. Try and bat into day three if you want, and then just set the game up for your spinners to come into the game. So I'm expecting everybody to bowl. I'm expecting Renshaw to bowl. I'm expecting Smith to bowl. Man, everybody will rule their arm over. But hopefully India can just start well. If they get the deficit out in the first session and a half, then I think the game will be set up for hopefully a Surya show.
Okay, hopefully a Surya show, hopefully a Kohli show, because that would really mean egg on Gurkiat's face, which is good to see. And it's a smile on my face because look, everyone's been writing Virat off, especially even in slip, guys. You guys just don't give him a break. It's ridiculous. Gurkiat, what's going to happen on day two? Are you expecting something? Do you think India will really run away with the game and bat Australia out in the first innings as well? Or do you think India will just probably get there, a 40, 50 run lead, which could still be crucial?
You know, Australia is in a very similar kind of a position how India were in that Bangalore Test match at the end of day one in 2017. Uh,
Right.
and you know, India's fight back in that Test match started from the first session where they only gave away some 40 or maybe it was 50 runs, and you know, I think they took two wickets. Yeah, Warner and Smith being dismissed. Warner dismissed by Ashwin and uh, Smith by Jadeja, and it. Ishant, even though didn't take any wickets, he was constantly at the batters and not giving them any leeway. So Australia just have to try and replicate that, because if in the first session India gets 60 runs, uh, that's pretty much that could actually mean curtains for Australia from there on, because if India say gets 60 70 runs and lose only one wicket, and if especially if that wicket if that wicket is not Rohit, then he's pretty much capable of just toying with the bowling. Doesn't matter who comes on to bowl, he just be toying with the ball. And you know as India get closer to Australia's 177, yeah, 177, uh, fields will start to open up, easy singles will be available, so it would not be easy for the bowlers as well to try and build pressure, because you will not be able to attack with fielders around the bat. And there is so much time left in this test match. Nikhil has rightly mentioned that India should look to bat into day three if everything goes well, because uh, India shouldn't even think of declaration. It's the first test match of the series. If everything goes well, just bat as long as you want and grind the opposition into the ground, like grind the opposition bowlers into the ground, because the next test match is only after 4 days. It's going to start on the 17th, so there's not a lot of turnaround time. It's also again going to be probably on a pitch slower than this, which means even more hard work for the bowlers. So India should hope that first session goes out smoothly, and if nothing happens in the first session for Australia, it's going to be a very long day. And
Okay,
that
before
is going to
before I
start
let you go,
translating.
what's your predictions and how much is Kohli going to score? Because lots of fans want to know that.
How much Kohli is going to score? There's no left arm spinner for starters, so that's a lead.
Come on, give us a good 50. So
See, I'd hope it's 100, because his record in Nagpur is a good one.
yeah,
In fact, the when in 2012 India played at Nagpur, which was a pitch even slower than this, and Jadeja made his debut, Kohli got a brilliant 100. India were 4 down under 100, and MS was not run out for 99.
On my
So
birthday, sorry.
would hope that Kohli can score a similar kind of 100, and he scored that 100 against better spinners, because it was Panesar and Swan. So there's no reason why he can't do that if things go well tomorrow. But I want to predict a good innings for Ashwin. Something about Ashwin, the batter, just makes me very happy. So I just want Ashwin, the batter, to score runs tomorrow and just frustrate Australia to no end, because I think if Ashwin scores runs, they're just going to get demotivated to a point that batting will become easier for other batters as well, because it's just a mental battle from that after that. Because if you're not able to dismiss Ashwin, how are you going to get the other proper batters out? So I want Ashwin to score runs and hope it happens.
okay. Ashwin, of course, breaking records, 450 wickets for him, and that means he's just the second Indian to do so. Nick, did Ashwin feature in your fantasy picks for today?
Of course, captain and vice captain Jadeja with a fifer. So yeah.
There's something about you and fantasy cricket. That's why we've got you on board and we've roped you in cricket.com, because you can never go wrong. The other, what you got, Craig Brathwaite as your captain and Mavuta as your vice captain. I mean, you always have a tendency to get things right. And guys, follow Crick Crazy next, because he's one of the best in terms of fantasy cricket out there. And in terms of normal reality cricket, we have, of course, Gurkhirat, who always lends his opinion as well. Guys, I can't thank you all enough for reviewing this day one play with me, and hopefully there's more fun to come in the Border-Gavaskar Trophy. India trail by 100 and stumps in day one. Only time will tell how much they can get in terms of their first innings lead, dare I say, or deficit. Thanks for watching. I'm Peggy. Subscribe to, of course, our YouTube channel and check us out. And hopefully Gurkhirat can sort his cough out in tomorrow's show. Thanks for watching. It's a goodbye from all of us. Have a good one. We'll see you soon.